So, hello everybody and welcome here on this live stream on the Sunday evening, 10th of September 2017. In case if you watch this video much later, this is a new kind of format in which you and I are going to practice together from scratch certain scores. And tonight we're going to practice a new work, brand new work, composition actually from Kostas Papazafaropoulos, our Greek friend. He wrote an enormous amount of music that I am behind actually with all these Beethoven, Mozart and Bach projects, but we are going to catch up with that. And tonight I'm going to practice the Haffner variations on the Haffner theme of Mozart, the symphony. I'm going to make sure now that I see your chat. Okay, so that's a new format, so we have to find our way a little bit. So Anya's in the chat and she will be reading everything you are writing. And if I miss something, she will, as usual, yell at me with your question. So before we dive into this video, I would like, as always on these Sunday evenings, to thank my patrons at patreon.com. And if you're not familiar with what that is, that's basically a website where you can support the creators you care about. And in this case, we are with a community there with about 30 people. I will typically set a cap for 3 videos a month that I upload on Patreon, and they are being supported by the patrons actually. And why would you like or want to do that? It's actually a great way to interact, but more than that, if you just opt in for even $1 a month, because that's the starting level, then you will get as a thank you my scan of my complete score of the Bach partitas with all the fingerings, so as a thank you gift. And then you have several reward levels, several tier levels, $1, $3, $5. And there are several rewards related to those tier levels, and you can set also a cap on the amount of videos that you would like to support on top of the 3 that I put on myself. So would really appreciate if you would like to check that out, because the patrons are the backbone of what we are doing on Authentic Sound, because their support is really essential and mind-blowing actually as well. So, and then for this live stream, since we are going to practice together, it is, I thought, a good way to start also the official launch for my online course, which is called Basic Keyboard Elements, 7 basic keyboard elements, in fact. And that online course, I was working on that several months before the summer holiday. And during the summer holiday, it has been tested by over 40 people. It was really amazing to see so many people step in to review that course. That's been done now, and so tonight is actually the official launch, so to say, for that. Basically what it is, in 2 hours videos in several chapters, I talk you through some really what I believe are basic keyboard elements, technical elements that you should master in order to not only maybe improve your technique, but to use your technique to play in a musical way. And next to that, we are focusing on relaxation, on your, as a musician, you connect to your keyboard, relax by breathing. Even we do relaxation exercises. Then we go over to the keyboard, talk about arm weight, the use of the wrist, again, contact with the instrument. We're talking about fingerings, how important that is, about practicing, and that's of course what's tying into today's session, and much more than that even. So if you're interested in checking that out, because it is a launch session tonight, Anya's giving you the link in the chat below, and there will actually be a 30% discount code that you can apply until tomorrow evening. So if you just want to check out and are not sure if this is something for you, don't worry, there is, and this sounds very commercial, but it's like it is online, there is a 30 money back guarantee, and we never do difficult about that. So that was a long introduction. I thought might be a good moment to start that course. I've given this weeks of my time, and I think based on the reactions that I got from this 40 people test group, that it is serving its goal very well. So I hope if you check that out, that it does the same for you. So, okay, for tonight, this practicing session from scratch, why am I doing that? It's tying in a little bit to the last live stream where I recorded the Clementi Sonata in A major. And I was calling that a 3-day challenge. People were asking me, why are you calling that like that? It's just a challenge for me, of course. It's not to prove anything. But I'm convinced that if you play music, it's using your brain in a very specific way, because you have all kinds of stuff, all kinds of things that you need to master. For instance, the element of reading the notes and playing them is something that we sometimes underestimate how difficult that is. If you ever have taught in the music school and you ever have taught adults who only started, let's say, after their 20s, then you will see and will notice immediately how difficult that is, because if those connections are not formed before the age of, let's say, 13, 14, 15 years, it depends, of course, from person to person, then it will never happen again. But once that connection is there, and I'm just saying this as an example, how are you going to use that? And as with me, and I guess also a little bit with you, with all of us, if you play music from sight, so just sight reading, which is very nice to do, that evolves a little bit into practicing. But if you really start from scratch in a way that you're using I would say the calculation power of your brain in the way it would like to be used, then you can speed up your practicing time enormously. This is disconnecting a little bit the playing and the fun part of playing music, of playing keyboard, and really focusing on the dry experience, as the dry practicing as such. But if you do that, you will see that you will decrease your practicing time and will increase your ability of playing a piece in a very short period of time. And I was thinking on doing this because people sometimes ask, you're playing a lot of music, and of course this is not these are not Liszt etudes if you play a Mozart sonata, and it's not a late Beethoven sonata. So we have to take that into account, that the music that I'm playing is not of the most difficult 19th, 20th century music ever written. And if you go to Bach, for instance, the Bach partitas, they are really difficult. There's no way that you can play them in 1 week, even one partita. And if you could do that technically, then of course there is the element of performance and of interpretation, and that needs time. That's something that you cannot that time you cannot shorten, because that takes a lifetime of experience. But it's a technique that if you go over that first point very quickly and study really focused, then I'm also convinced that the second part, the performance, will go much easier, because all the notes are in your head, in your brain, so to say, and you can reproduce them much more easily. So that as an introduction. So without further ado, I suggest that we dive into this beautiful music by Kostas. I say hello to Philip, Daniel, let's see if I can read the chat. Mohamed was not able to make it this time. Andre is here. Katsuhiro is here, Kostas is here, Ian is here, great, Brian, and okay. Again, Anya is in the chat. I will not be watching reading the chat for now, for some moments, because I will have to concentrate on this. But of course, we are catching up after that. You see how far we go. These are, I don't remember even. 9 variations, and we see how far we go. Okay. And again, this is a new format, and we're going to fine-tune this together with you, of course, because this has to serve you in the first place. There we go. So typically what I will do, what I would do, is still have a notice of the music and play it from sight reading, so, but not too much, and I'll explain in a minute why. And now I'm doing it because I want to give you a little bit of a feel of the work of Kostas. So this is a theme you all know. So that's a Mozart theme. And what I will do now, and that's the first thing I always do, is, and if you hear a sound, that's just Sophie on the couch just eating something. What I always will do is making fingerings. This is really crucial. I was just sight reading now, and that's okay. But if you're practicing for a piece to be reproduced in several circumstances, like a concert or a recording, and you want to make sure that you are, well, if you're nervous or if you are stressed in a situation, you start to think all things differently. You start to see all things differently. And the reason for that is very simple, because your concentration level is going up. And when your concentration level is going up, you see much more. Time is going slower. And if you ever have played a concert, or it doesn't matter on what level, but in a situation where you felt a little bit stressed, then you will have noticed that you are going to think on very consciously on things that otherwise on a normal daily practice never occurred to you. Do I play this G with the second finger or with the fourth finger, Alfred, and things like that. And that's messing up, of course, your level of confidence. It depends on your experience when you start writing fingerings, but I typically will do it very intense. Okay, there we go. And this may take a while, and for you, if you're watching this, I don't know if this is really interesting. I could prepare my fingerings before we start these sessions, and that's also possible. So there we go. And typically my pencil will drop a few times. Honestly, I hate making fingerings, but I'm doing it now. So, and it's not about the historical fingerings. So if you are playing from a score with pre-printed fingerings that are good, that's okay. Of course, you can make your own. That's even better, because then you are really slowing down the process of reading. So, and I'm making mistakes like this. Okay. And the reason why also, so this can be very fast. Another reason, of course, to make fingerings is you increase your expressivity. Remember that we have made these extensive sessions on the symphonias, and I will restore them a little bit, but I need to find a new format for that, where we talked extensively about the use of fingerings in music of Bach. That gives you the clarity by doing that. By making the fingerings, you will start seeing connections in the music that you otherwise either will skip or will not see, or will take much longer time for you to see that. Okay, that's the first session. So this is not too difficult, of course. And even then I'm doing that. Because if you have passages that are not too difficult, and you don't write fingerings there, and you have passages later that are more difficult, and you just write the fingerings at the passages that are difficult, you will start to feel more nervous at the easy things. Because if you have a concert, there are a ton of people listening to everything you're doing. And so you better prepare for that. And another thing is, if you once have written your own fingerings, or really practice the fingerings that are pre-printed, you will play the piece forever. You no need to practice that again, and I will talk about it in a minute. So I'm going through this very fast now. We will stand still a little bit in more later variations. The reason why that is that if you make a good fingering, that it sticks so much longer in your head, is because you free your mind from a very important element, which is one of the things you remember, or you are able to play music with, is your motoric memory. So your motoric memory is the way you play a piece, and you kind of feel the next note in your fingers. You have to try that. If you don't feel that, then there is no way that you're going to play that next note. Or you're sight reading, and if you're sight reading, you make much more use of your eye-hand coordination, and that's something you can do for a while, but not for a whole concert. So the way things are made automatically, I don't know in English exactly how to say that, is really important. And that input that you're giving to your motoric memory is essential. If you can do that from the first moment you are practicing a piece in a way that's correct, and that you will not have to change anymore, that means that you have only one input given to your fingers or your motorical memory. It's like programming a computer directly in the right way. And imagine the complexity that you get when you play a complete piece. It's a web of all kind of interactions. So all the things you can take out from that and do exactly from the first moment effectively right, that will save you a lot of time. It's boring, but it's really effective. So for now, the fingering is made. Second thing you need to do, depending also on your level of experience, but I would recommend it for everyone, is to play it really slow. Again, why? If you play slow, the only thing you need to do is speed up in your brains. And if there is one thing that our brain has no problem with, is speeding up. So practicing slow to play faster, that's the basic element. If you're not doing that, if you just keep on sight reading and then practicing while playing, your brain is a constant kind of emergency situation. It's solving problems, and it's very good in that. And if you're experienced in that, then you will reach a certain level that is amazing. People can read from sight read amazingly, but it's different than what we are talking about now. Now we're freeing everything that we can to give room to the correct input. And we're coming back to that later. So I'm playing it now just very slow, that I can read all the notes before I play them. So there's no surprise here. I know what's coming. I can read the fingerings also that I've written, and I'm playing them. So what's happening now is that my fingers are receiving the correct information. So that's it. Now I can play it. If you play such a piece that you have prepared like this, and you feel that you are behind, you have to slow down again every time you do that. And the more difficult the piece is, the more you have to do that. If you play Chopin etudes, you have to slow down. You have to practice really, really, really slow. When I was playing Chopin, I played the etudes sometimes so slow, and has nothing to do with tempo choice. In whatever tempo you would like to play them, I would recommend that playing even 1 second per 16th note. Really very consciously giving input to that. Even if you can play the piece, it's kind of purification, and certainly before a concert. Okay, then we have the first variation. I will first make the fingering now, and I will play it then when it's finished, so the surprise is there. It's a beautiful work, by the way. So also here, of course, if you do that with Bach, then there is more a choice that you have to make in correlation with the phrasing and with the expression. In music in the style of Mozart like this, it's a little bit less, but still, it's making fingering is easier here than with Bach. And this is the boring part. But the very important part, because what I'm doing now, I'm trying, and normally I'm not talking at the same time, but you are trying out fingerings with your fingers, obviously. And the tricky thing, if you want to be 100% effective, is that the better you do it from the first time, the better the input here is in your fingers. Just a side story, while we are making these fingerings. When I just had my clavichord, Sophie was much younger, of course. She couldn't sleep often, so we had to stay near to her bedroom, which we did. But losing much time, of course, by that, and sometimes hours in the evening. And what I did then was just take my score de volt tempété clavier and make fingerings while I was lying in my bed next to her. And at the morning I would come downstairs and I would play it very slow, correct a few things, and it was the best thing you can do. Just imagining the feel of your fingers at the keyboard while not playing. If you can do that, your practicing speed will go up even much more than we're doing now. But that's fun to do, but it needs a lot of concentration. By the way, also if you're playing very difficult words, it's a very good exercise to do. Just feeling the keyboard instead of playing. And I'm convinced that's for everyone. I mean, it's not only for very experienced players, it's for everyone. If you're a beginner or just in the middle, it's... We're almost there, and then you get... As a first worldwide, a glimpse of the first variation. Take a 4 here. Okay, there we go. I first play very slow. And I'm not trying to do something musical now. I'm just playing the music in a very relaxed tempo, in a very relaxed way, in a very regular way if I can. If I cannot do that, I have to lower the tempo. Okay, again. And there I missed a fingering, I changed it. That happens also that you play and you see this better. Fifth finger here. And this is typically placed, now you have two voices. That you can feel that your activity up here is higher. You slow down. If you have passages that are difficult, this is not too difficult, but I want to just give a demonstration, then you can make it rhythmically different. So instead of playing, you play. What that does is it gives freedom in your mind, because you first focus on the left hand, then the right. Sounds weird, but it's really, really good to practice. Okay. Now we try. Okay, well, it's not too difficult, you might say. Or you might say, yeah, well, you can play it easily, so it's not a demonstration. Of course, we're going to do this with other music as well. But the principle is the same. You have to free your mind from everything that your mind can be freed of, and then you will start to feel much freer in your playing. Because you need that gray area here to control everything from a bird's angle perspective, not within the notes and the music that you're playing, but above that. And in order to do that, you have to free as many elements as you can. Then the motorical element is one of the most important. Okay, then we have this. Very nice. I will not deny that I have tried it. So it's not really something I don't know. Of course, how are you going to play music that you never have played, but you can have heard it, but this is new. By the way, we will have a project, Kostas and I, with 6 easy sonatas for, we'll call it for educational purposes. It's great music. And that will be our first printed score, actually, that will be available. Somewhere November, December. So also here you could say, well, I just play this without fingering, but then in one way or another you have to figure the fingering out, even if it is simple. And then think on the situation at the concert. And even if you don't play concerts, it's still the way to practice, I think. The only thing you should not copy is the talking. Four, two. 3, 2. Three, two. And again, for next, I could prepare some of those fingerings so we can go over that, because that is not the most interesting part. On the other hand, I thought I'm doing it now live with you because, yeah, it gives a real time view, so to say, how I practice. Okay, like that. 5, 2, and then luckily he starts doing the same a little bit. We can repeat our fingerings. 2, like this. Okay, let's try it. Again, very slow. Now that's the crucial moment. Now I'm going to give an imprint to my motorical memory of what I've written in fingerings. Okay. Yeah, it's beautiful music. Yeah. Yeah. And if you do this, like practice like this, and you sleep one night, you will see in the morning that you have lost some of that freshness. Just start again and follow the same path, so to say, and you will see how fast you recover from that, and up until you reach the moment where you're not losing that anymore. Okay, now we have a left hand that we have to take care about. Okay, let's do that first. So there comes the boring part again. first finger on the C here. Now, of course, making fingerings is something that needs you to be, you have to do it a lot, so you get very quick in it. It sometimes surprises me how a few people that I know are really doing it in a way that, yeah, in the 19th century they did it, like people like Czerny and so, they had fingerings all over the place. With a reason, I think. It's just a matter of discipline. Okay. This is tricky. I don't like that chromatic. That's very nice, but don't like to play it. I have to read more, but that's okay. Let's first continue on the left hand. Clavichord sounds nice in this. Also here, it's not too difficult to make fingerings or to play this. Where we make fingerings for the same principles. 1, 2, 3, 1. And then comes the same at the beginning. And that's typically something I always do when a part is being repeated. I copy the fingerings. Right hand. Fifth finger here. So here I need to make decisions which finger I will be using to play the trill, and then to compromise the next note a little bit because I have to jump. By the way, guys, a trill, a clavichord, is sometimes difficult to play the trill, certainly on the keyboard like this, with key depth which is quite big. And sometimes I have difficulties to play a beautiful trill. How do I practice that also slow? And the thing is, if you do that slow, you will speed up without knowing. And if it's slow here, you can play fast. If you have difficulties with the trill, take this. This is a trick that really changes my mind. I heard this in Amsterdam by my former teacher, late teacher Jacques van Noordmesse. Always play an ornament slower than you hear it. Again, it sounds weird, but you have the feeling of slowing down the ornament, but it's still fast, but you play it more relaxed then. Also practice it slow. Fourth finger here. A little bit difficult here. Fifth finger. First finger. Fourth, and then 3, 2. Fourth finger here. And then just 5. Okay. 3, 1. Yeah. 4, 2. This is quite important because We have all this G minor. And going between the black keys or the upper keys, it's impossible to avoid. So certainly on clavichord, you have to make a fingering that works fine, the best. And if you're just sight reading this a while before you really practice this, because that's typically how, and I do it also, then you have found such tricks to make it work, but then you come and you say, now I'm going to make a fingering, and then you clean all these fast solutions. But then you have to practice your fingering that you were not applying, of course, because you didn't have it. Hope this all makes sense. As long as Anya stays awake, she's almost sleeping. And again, making fingerings is not a part I enjoy. I like slowing down the process of studying, but nowadays I have to make a lot of fingerings. There's 100 pages here of Kostas, these easy sonatas. I'm making for all of them fingerings, and there's a little bit too much. But you have them for a lifetime, and actually, to be honest, my scores with my fingering, they're really precious to me. So once, certainly a Bach piece has been done, I or Anya is scanning that, and it will be backed up also in the cloud. So to make sure I don't lose them. Imagine you lose all the fingerings you have prepared in your life. It will be quite a disaster. Let's try this very slow. Very difficult trill because it's between the upper note. So I'm now reading every note. If you're doing that and you're not used to do that, you will see that your concentration level is 20 seconds, and then you're starting to think on other things because it's full here. You have to stop, wait a second, and then start again, or go further, or slow down the tempo. So really important that you see and read, that you give the right impulses actively to your fingers. Also here with this chromatic. No guessing, it's all about knowing for sure. Knowing for sure gives relaxation on moments that you are stressed. Because what you're building up with practicing like this will save your life in the concert. We will always have concentration gaps in the concert, always. And you have 1 second of a blackout, and your fingers just continue as it were nothing. And that's of course what you're learning here. First finger here. And first finger here. Sorry. Let's try this. I don't know if it's ready already. Here I'm now too fast. Same passage here. Okay, we know 3 variations far. I'm not going to plague you with the complete set. Again, I might prepare the fingerings next time if we're doing this, just to give us some more time to go through the practicing process. What I'm going to do now, if that's okay for you, play from the beginning and then citer it a little bit, what we shouldn't do. No, of course we should do that, because disconnected from practicing, that's the point actually. You should know when you're sight reading, and you should know when you're practicing, or you should know when you're playing for pleasure or just for joy, and when you're really practicing to achieve a certain level. That's different. And if you make that up in your mind up front, then there's no problem, of course. But since it's new work, let's just try the first variations and see later on to give you a little bit of a taste of what's coming. And this will be recorded very soon to go on the channel. again, that's a new variation. Beautiful. Then see if I can play this a little bit en vue. Nice. And then we have a kind of andante, G minor. And then variation 8, kind of fugue, so to see. Nice. John. Sorry. That's really nice. Oh, that's the last variation. Oops. It's difficult. Something like that. Very, very, very nice music. So, well, that's the first time that this is heard outside Kostas' workroom and this living room. He was sending me this a few months ago, and then I played it the first time, just sight reading, and then the project was stopped and replaced by the 6 easy sonatas. And tonight I was planning to do a Clementi sonata with you, and I thought, well, why not taking these variations? And if you would like him to compose much more like this, now it's the moment to tell him in the chat. I don't know if he's still here, but that's great music. And again, this was just sight reading the last variations. So I don't know if I have missed something in the chat, but
There's a question about our Brazil friends, the 4, I think, and they ask if you know w.a.mozart. He's a Brazil.
yeah, name of course, but not too familiar with him, no. So otherwise you leave in the chat or in one of the comment boxes on YouTube, and I will see that, a link to some of his music. So would be great. Always nice if people send things that I don't know. Of course the name I know, but that's it. So guys, for this live stream, again, this was kind of new format. I have to search a little bit my way in this, but sharing with you some of my practicing moments. It's not only good for me to level up my practicing time, because I'm telling you all of this is as if I apply this all the time. Of course we don't. This is very intense if you practice in the way I was describing. If you practice 30 minutes a day like this, I can promise you your life will change, really, as a musician. But that's it, because that needs so much concentration. And certainly for me now, while talking, this kind of music is possible. When we would do this with Bach, I probably would have to prepare my fingering before. I'm just thinking, and leave me in the chat or in the comment boxes on the video, because this will go online in a few minutes if we close this session, what your ideas are. Open for that. And for the online course, great if you would like to check that out. And again, don't worry if it's nothing for you, just send us a mail, and there is nowhere to no need to have that course if it's not something for you. Okay.
Ripple to ask if this was a contemporary composer. So yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Ripple 2. Yes, this is actually a composition by Kostas Papazafaropoulos. I can show you maybe a little bit closer. Here it is. And if you will look on our channel, we have done 6 or 7 recordings with him, and we will do a lot more. So the 6 easy sonatas, they're waiting for publication. Here they are with some notes. So we're going through them, Kostas and I, piece by piece now, to see if I have suggestions. He has suggestions for the fingerings, and we will have a session tomorrow night, again, sonata number 3, and they are great music, very difficult to write because I asked him to write quote-unquote easy sonatas going up gradually. In fact, the project as a goal has to serve piano teachers and also students and players, but basically piano teachers, to give them good music in a style that's related to 18th century music by Mozart, Clementi, that kind of music, to work with contemporary music with my fingerings, which are more or less 18th century based. So also there you have this element of learning. We will have a Facebook group called Connect, that if you buy the score, you will be given access to that Facebook group. And imagine that piano teachers worldwide would connect in that group and share the performances of their students. I can be there with my performances, with my ideas, suggestions for ornamentation, because that's also something we have to learn today, I think, in historical informed performance practice, but also in the piano class, that if you play music of that time, it's your right to make some ornaments, and it's maybe also necessary. So I can give tips. Kostas comes in there with live streams and with tips on composition. And that's the start of a project that may lead to some other music and other things. So that's a big thing that's coming up. Okay, great to have you here. And the next live stream, I wouldn't know. It's probably not on Thursday, but Thursday after that, to record a new piece or to just play with you some music. So we're changing things on the channel, and I'm still figuring out how to bring some variety also in the live streams. Okay, that was it for tonight. Hope you enjoyed this, and then we see each other very soon again for the next one. Okay, bye.